Hello and welcome back to Chengi's World. I am so happy to have you ladies back here on my channel today. Today is Women Ask Wednesday. Yes! Today I'll be answering a question from a lady I will call Lucy. She lives in Canada. And she asked me this question almost like a month ago. But I didn't quite get around to it. So I'm going to read her letter. It's quite a long one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read maybe the beginning and then I'm going to summarize the middle and then we will get to the question so that we get through it as soon as possible. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome to Chengi's World. Make sure that you subscribe, like, comment. I am Chengi and you precious one are my world. Okie dokie. So make sure you send me your questions, ladies, so that you can be featured on Women Ask Wednesday because your questions will be helpful for other women who are watching. I love today's question. So let's get into it. Okie dokie. So the question comes from a lady I said I will call Lucy for the purposes of her privacy. And she says, Cheng, Cheng, Cheng. I know, right? Where have you been all my life? I discovered your show 3 days ago. I love your show and your beautiful energy. Thank you so much. You are angels. I tell you every time, you're my angels. You're a brilliant 40-year-old with a 90-year-old soul. Yes, this is true. I am a 60-year-old Canadian who told my 27-year-old daughter to watch your YouTube show. Yes, absolutely. I love this particular letter because it comes from my subscribers who are, much older. And I really wanted to do this because I feel like we exclude a lot of people who are deserving of love. Okay, so she went on to explain to me that she's divorced. That she had, quite a traumatic divorce. Her husband just woke up one day and decided he was done with her. Then her son has just been diagnosed with an illness. And then she was diagnosed with an illness and she's a former nurse and it's affected so many things. And so basically she's been through the perfect storm from the age of 50. And she's now at a point in her life where she's ready to settle down. And like she said like she's going to say in a minute, she's ready to settle down, find somebody, but she's experiencing the same things that every woman experiences. So she says to me, please, Chengi, any suggestions for an older woman who's not settling and has been doing the work for 10 years? She was referring to my video, The Work. So make sure you go and watch that if you want to know what she's talking about. For 10 years. But I'm not getting any younger either. No. Thanks. She says, I am happy being single, but it would be nice to share my lifestyle. Okay. So she says, thanks and have an awesomely positive day, Lucy. And she says, doesn't mind me sharing this. Lucy, I love you to bits and pieces. Thank you so much for your question. It is really full of, I wasn't really able to answer you directly on Facebook because there were so many issues. And I'm not going to try and cover all of them because ultimately I want to get to the real issue here. And one of the things that I find for my older, I actually work quite a lot with older women in their 50s, in their 60s. And one of the things that particularly surprised me, because I was brought up in an ageist society, and the truth is we're very much an ageist society, but more so in Africa. When my mom got separated from my dad, it was not expected of her to want to move on. She was only in her early 40s. And it was not socially acceptable for her to move on, to find new life, to meet somebody new. You just had to, if your husband left you, you were sort of screwed. You had to sit around and raise your kids and find meaning in your children. You go to church, and that was the expected life of a dignified woman. But you obviously, one of the things I didn't realize, because so many women as I was growing up were doing that, I didn't realize that. I just thought the only reason they can do that is because when you get to a certain age, certain desires fall off you. You get to a certain age, you get to your 40s, you get to your 50s, and as you get older, certain desires start to come off you. You stop desiring the company of a man. You stop having sexual desires. You stop having emotional desires. You just become this asexual being as you get older. And it took me really, getting older myself. And whilst, I'm not quite old, it took me getting older and realizing that the more I was getting older, that nothing was fading away. In fact, the older I was getting, the more acute my desires became to have what is good and what is perfect and what is worthy. So this video, I really wanted to do it because I wanted to show women that are in their 20s, in their 30s, in their teens, that your desires don't change because you get older, that your requirements, your desires to be with somebody and to have companionship and to share a life with someone don't actually diminish as you get older. They actually become more acute and they become more clarified. And this is to say, in answer to your question, that a woman remains a woman at whatever age, as a man remains a man at whatever age. So I was talking to a guy friend of mine, and he's been like all over the world and doing all these things, and it's like, I just want to do what young people do. And I said to him, look, I got a secret for you. You are never going to feel old. Like, newsflash, boom, 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 okay? You are never going to feel old. Ladies and gentlemen watching this, the day will never come when you will feel like you are too old to have the lifestyle you want, the person you want. You are never too old because the soul is ageless. The soul is ageless, but there will be people out there who will tell you that at the age of 60, you just sit down, start thinking about grandkids, and just become that woman and goes to church every Sunday. The world begins to inform what your desires should be. And instead of those desires going away, as many people perceive, all we do is repress them. So what is happening to you is, you just said to me, a lot of men are coming out of divorces at your age and they really don't want to commit again, etc., etc. Now, yes, at all of life stages, people are going through different life things. So it would be foolish of me and inaccurate of me to say that a woman in her 30s can expect the same thing as a woman in her 20s. A woman in her 20s can expect a man to not have children. She can rightly expect a man to, be starting to make headway in his career. She can be expecting that sort of picket fence, perfect come together, young people get married. She can expect that because she is in her prime in terms of her fertility. She's young enough to expect a man to not have created a family, to not have been married. And in your 30s, a woman has to expect that chances are that the man she's going to meet is either coming out of a relationship, has had a child. She has to have certain expectations in and around that age group. A woman in her 40s has a different set of expectations, and 50s and 60s, and maybe I'll do a video on that as we go along. However, what you have to fundamentally understand, Lucy, is that a man still wants what he wanted when he was in his 20s. He just hasn't quite figured out, some of them haven't quite figured out that the exchange at this level is different. So, number one, we need to deal with your mindset. You have to realize that when women come to me and tell me about their city, there are not enough men or men my age, and they give me all of these excuses, it lets me know their mindset. And usually our minds are frequencies, our thoughts are frequencies that send out frequencies and radars out there into the world. And they attract to us what we think. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So whenever I hear women tell me, oh, at my age or in my town, in my city, blah, 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 what they're telling me is that they have a scarcity mindset. That what they are attracting into their lives is pretty much this sort of person, and they have therefore labeled the world in light of their mindset. Now, the reality is there are men in their 60s, in their 70s, in their 50s, who have been divorced and long for that companionship, that stability again. Plenty. In fact, research has shown that a man who has actually been married and lost a marriage is more likely to want to get married because he knows what he left behind. Okay, unless that relationship was really damaged and damaged him along the way, usually, eventually, a man is gonna want to get that comfort back into his life. Men who are over 40, their whole hormonal makeup is beginning to shift and their testosterone levels are decreasing. So really, they're more in tuned and more inclined to want that emotional connection than a man who was probably younger. So in fact, your worldview is that, well, I'm 60 now and I really should just sit down and settle, or I don't want to settle, but really I should settle for some kind of deadbeat kind of whatever. Now, when you get to a certain, I think any woman in 30s going up has to look at her age width and her age band more appropriately. So you have to look at the sort of men that you can date. If you are 60, it is quite acceptable for you to date a man who is in his 50s, maybe even late 40s. Especially if you're a 60-year-old, that's quite young looking from what I can see from your picture and from what you say to me. And quite acceptable for you to date a man who is 10 years older. In fact, they say half your age plus 7 in each direction. So if you're 40, if you're 60, that's 30, 37 is the lowest that you can go. And if you're 60, 90s, I guess, you're going up into that sort of direction. So what I want you to see is that what we need first and foremost is a change of mindset. You need to first begin to flood your mind with an abundance mindset. You have to begin to take away that mindset that says, I am 60 and I won't settle, and all the men that I'm meeting, they're just a mess, and Tinder just produces these wannabe. A lot of the women I work with, it's just that you don't have the skill set. I cannot tell you how valuable working. This is not like a sales pitch. I know I say it all the time, but I started the one-to-one coaching because a lot of what's going on is just that a lot of women just have zero skills. It doesn't matter if you're 40, 60, 80. If you have zero skills, the older you get, those skills are still going to get you what they get you. So it's about changing your game, knowing what you're putting out there. There's so much that women just take for granted that they can do. Finding a relationship. There are people that I call naturals, and I'm going to do a video on that, and the people that have to learn. There are people and women who were born like myself who naturally get it. We just get men, we get relationships. It's natural for us. We don't even think about it. It's just a natural thing. And for most women, it's something a skill set that they have to learn. And even naturals like myself still have to invest in a skill set, okay, in order to get the very best. So a lot of it is that your skills are probably what are lacking, not so much your age or the men that you're meeting. You're probably not putting out the right stuff on your Tinder or on your online profile. You are not having the right conversations. You are not driving things forward in the way that they should be driven. You are not sitting in your feminine. There's so many things that one video cannot particularly cover. But the one thing that I want to say to you is this. I said to my friend who is a little bit older than me, I said to her, if you didn't know your age, how old would you be? And that's the question that I want to ask you. And every viewer who is within that age band, who feels like you're over the hill and everybody in your world is telling you you should just shut up, sit down, and settle down and become grandma. I want to ask you, if you did not know how old you were, if there was no calendar, how old are you? Right? And whatever limitations that are in your mind, you see, limiting beliefs also create thought processes that create performances and attract the wrong sort of things into our lives. We have to dig into those limiting beliefs. What is it about your age that disqualifies you from having quality? What is it about your age or your socioeconomic background? What is it about, when women come to me, they always have this thing that is beholding them, that is holding them back from getting what they deserve. Either my town is too small, the men in my town, stories upon stories, my age, my height, my weight, my this. None of that is true. Because if you look, you will find that there are women in your age band that are getting high quality men. You will look at women who are your size who get high quality men. You will look at women your skin color who get high value men. Like, it's happening, right? So it's a shift in mindset. So what I would say to anyone of that age group is, check your mentality, check the limiting beliefs in your life. What is it that's limiting you? Is if you were 20, what would be limiting you right now? Right? Would you have limitations? What would fall off? If you could be 20 again and be back on the market, what would fall off? Right? And the second thing is that don't allow society to infiltrate your thinking and tell you what you can and cannot have at a certain age. Open your bandwidth, right, of the men that you can date. Try going younger. That is something that that was quite taboo. The idea of going younger is like, oh my God. But watch my video on older women and younger men. Right, those can be really fulfilling relationships, and there's so many of them that are doing so well. So the answer to your question is, you've done the work on yourself, but what work have you done? I always meet women who've done a lot of, I've done a lot of coaching, I've done this, I've done, and it's not working. Is because you can do all the work in the world, but if it's the wrong kind of work, you're not going to make any progress. So you also have quite a lot of traumas in your past that need to be worked through, that need to be worked through because they become love and energy blocks. Okay. So there's some things that block us from meeting the right person, and usually they're energy blocks, issues in our past that are holding us back and sending off the wrong frequency, right? Because we're still hurting, we're still feeling some kind of way, right? So in this message, there's so many things that I want to say, but I really wanted to say to you, and most importantly, that your age does not disqualify you from love. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to find that high value, amazing man. And all you have to do is really go inside of yourself and shift some of your belief systems, and really, perhaps consider getting a coach and working one-on-one with somebody. So ladies, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. There was so much in this letter that I was trying to address in one go, but I hope that if you are a woman in your 60s, 50s, 70s, still looking for love, because I know you're out there, because you write to me, you have every right and you deserve to find the love and to keep the love that you deserve. And there's somebody out there waiting to find you. Love you so much. Take care of you. Take care of you. Love you so much. And I'll see you soon in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Mwah.